Welcome back everybody to another YouTube video. In today's video I will explain and solve problem set 4, Adieu. So in this problem we want to implement a program that prompts the user for names, one per line, until the user inputs Control D. Assume that the user will input at least one name. Then bid adieu to those names. So for example, if the user inputs only one name, we will bid adieu, then comma, then adieu, comma, then to whatever the user has inputted. For this one, it's lethal. So, if the user inputted two names, we want to separate them with an and, not a comma like this one, like here. And otherwise, if the user inputs three names or more, we want to separate every name with a comma, like here, comma, then second name, then comma, and the last name we will type or add and to add and before the name, just like here. So these two examples explain the same idea. So every name is separated with a comma. Every two names is separated with a comma, and the last name has an and before it. So to implement this program, we will use a module called Inflect. So let's import this module and let's do this. And since we will keep asking the user for input until the user inputs Control D, let's make a while loop for this. And we will use exception, try and accept. Let's take input from the user and let's print a message. Name, for example, and the exception. Yeah, so if the user inputs Control D, let's print a new line, then break out of the loop. So let's first explain what we want to do. So if you notice, whatever the user inputs, whatever name he inputs, or whatever number of names he inputs, we will always start the output with adieu, comma adieu. So actually, we won't store these two names in a variable called text. We'll actually store them in a list because the Inflect module has a method called join, which takes a list and formats it in a way just like this, separating every two elements from our list or from the list we are choosing with a comma, and ends with an end. So let's start our list with adieu, and our second element will also be adieu. To give you an idea of how this module works, let's try a small example on our list here. So let's just comment this block of code, and to join elements of a list, we use p.join, use the join method, and we put first parameter the list, which is called text. So let's print that. Let's store this in a variable. Let's call it new text for the example, and print this out. So let's see what this module does, specifically this join method. So yeah, it takes the elements of our list and separate them with an and, because we only have two elements. So let's try adding another element. Let's just copy this and put it again. Let's test if we have more than two names or two elements in our list. So yeah, separates every two names with an comma here, and to the last name we add and before it. So yeah, this is a small example of what this join method does. So I hope that's clear, and we will only use this method from the library. So let's continue, and let's remove this two lines. So what we want to do after taking input from the user, let's just remove this element first. Yeah, the user here inputs a name. So we want to add this name to our list here. So at the end of our code, we join the list, the elements of the list. So let's to add an element to a list, we use the append method. So let's append so text.append, and we want to append the input from the user. So yeah, I think this while loop is done here. Let's move on. So let's do the join step again. So let's make a variable called new text and join the elements of this list, then print new text. So let's see. Okay, name. Let's try this and Control D. So yeah, that's kind of working. Let's try more than one name. Control D. Okay, this is also working, but there's some issues here. If you look here, if the user only inputs one name, or if the user inputs any name actually, so the first one we want to add two before it. So let's run again and show you what's missing. Control D. So yeah, we want to add to actually remove this and replace it with a two. So we actually have three conditions here. The first one, if the user inputs only one name. If the user inputs only one name, we don't want to add and between the last two names here. The second one is if the user inputs two names, we want to separate them with an and without a comma here. So we shouldn't put a comma here, and that's also an issue here because if we type two names here, Control D, they are separated with an comma here. And our third condition is if the user inputs three names or more than three names. We will separate the last two names with an and also we will add a comma. So that's the only condition working in our program here. So we want to modify our program to work on the first two conditions. So we'll make if statements here. And our first if statement or our first condition is if the user inputs one name. So let's imagine the user here inputs a name, then we append this name to our list. So now here, after the user inputs Control D, we will be on line 18. So on line 18 or after this while loop, the text will be will contain three elements: adieu, and the name the user inputs, or the name that the user has inputted. So to check for this condition, we will actually just check if the length of our text list is equal to 3. Why 3? Because it will only be equal to 3 if the user only inputs one name. So let's check if length of the text is equal to 3. And if that's the case, yeah, so if that's the case, we want to output our list or join them, then output them like this one, like this format here. So there is no AND here. So to do so, we will join our list. But this time we will actually modify a parameter in this method. It's called conj, and it's going to be equal nothing. By default, it's equal to AND. That parameter, that's the parameter which puts an AND before the last name. So if we modify it and make it an empty string, it will remove this AND. So let's try. Yeah, let's run the program and try by only inputting one name. Control D. So yeah, I think I messed up somewhere. Yeah, we should remove this line because we overwrite what we have done here. So let's actually try again. I think this time it will work. So let's try inputting one name, Control D. So yeah, you see here the AND is removed because we modified this parameter. But there is still something missing. This 2. We want to add a 2 to whatever the user inputs first. So we can actually do this out of the while loop and before the if statements. So whatever the user inputs first, so the first name the user inputs, we will access the third item of our list because the first name the user inputs will be the third element in this list. So the third element in our text list, we want to add 2 before it. So 2 plus the name. So if our name here, the first name here is Liesel, we will put 2 before it. So okay, let's try again. Let's run the program and only input one name. So yeah, that's kind of working. We just need to add a space here. So that's easy to fix. We put space here. Let's run again. Liesel. Okay, that's working. Okay, let's add the other two conditions. So our second condition is if the user inputs two names. So imagine here that the user inputs two names, then he inputs Control D. So now our text list has 4 items. Our initial 2 items and the 2 items that the user has inputted. So we want to check if the list is this time equal to 4. And if that's the case, we will join our list without actually modifying this parameter. So let's try. Let's try by inputting only 2 names. Liesel, then. So yeah, this looks working. Let's just check. So yeah, there's only one thing missing is we need to remove this comma, because if you see here, they are only separated with an and without any commas here. So to modify this, there is another parameter called final separator, which is the separator between the last two names. So by default, it's set to comma, but we want to remove this, so we will also make it an empty string. So this should work. Let's try. Input only two names. So yeah, you see here there is a comma. There was a comma in the last time we run the program, but after modifying this parameter, it's removed. So yeah, this matches this condition, which the user only inputs two names, and our last condition, which is anything more than two names, like three or more, we will just join our list normally without modifying any parameters. So text. Yeah, so let's try once more time. Uh, this time we want to input three names. Control D. Yeah, so this one we have the comma, so that works. So yeah, if you check here, this line matches our output, so that's working. And if you add more than three names, it will do the same. But let us check this also. So diesel, rich, and Control D and see if that works. So yeah, it also works for more than three names. So I think we have done everything. Let me check first. So yeah, I think we have covered everything in this problem. Uh, we modified this problem to the three conditions we had. Uh, mm, mm. okay, let's try the examples given in the problem. Um, mm, mm. Yeah, I think we already tested these examples here. So we first inputted one name, then we inputted two names, then three, then four, and everything worked just fine. So yeah, I think everything is clear. So before ending, let's just quickly walk through the problem again. So the reason I initiated my list with these two elements is because whatever the user inputs, we will always start with these two names. So I just initiated my list with these two names. Then we take input from the user here, and if the user inputs Control D, we will print a new line, then break out of the loop. And whatever the user inputs, we will append it to our list. And the first name that the user will input, we will add two before it. Because if you see here, the first name that the user inputs will always have two before it. So that line does this specifically. And this is our three conditions. If the user inputs only one name, we check if the length equal 3 because we initially have two elements. So when a user inputs the third element, our list will be equal to 3. And according to the documentation of the Inflect module, we can modify some parameters here. This one by default is equal to AND. So here it's AND here. That's by default. So that's why AND is added uh, between between the last two names. So AND is here and here and here. but it's not here. So that's why we modify it in our first condition, which is if the user only inputs one name. So here the user only inputs one name, we modify this parameter and remove the and. So then our second condition is if the user inputs only two names. So yeah, that's an example to this. So the user only inputs two names, Liesel and Friedrich, or Friedrich, whatever. We will normally just put the and. So we remove this modification in this line, or left it to the default. But we had to modify this parameter, the final separator, to be equal an empty string to remove this comma. Then our last and third condition is if the user inputs three or more names. And if that's the case, we will just join the text without any further modification. Then we'll just print new text. So yeah, I hope that's clear. And that's the end of today's video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like. And if you have any question, please leave a comment down below. And see you next time.